announcement and invocation. We'll do that and get started.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you have created all people and all creation. We give you thanks for this gift, that we're invited to engage in hope, with joy and love as your disciples. We ask your blessing on this governing body, that they may consider what is best for our community in all their deliberations. Be with all the residents of this community as we go about our daily lives, bringing hope and encouragement to one another. Open our hearts and eyes to see our communities as you would have us see them. Help us to find courage to sit and hear others when so often we want to be heard first. Oh God, let us see all people as children of you, who created us all. This is in the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, I'll go ahead and call our meeting to order at 10:01 a.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Sutton.
Here.
Fitch. Here. Stenzel. Here.
All present. We have an extra item for a temporary liquor license that came in after the deadline, so I'd ask for a motion to amend the agenda to include that.
Oh, that's okay, Heather. All right, I'll do it.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Diane. Any further discussion?
Do we want to just do that first and foremost, so we don't forget?
I'm gonna write it down here, right next to applications. So hopefully I remember. Okay, with no other discussion, all in favor of amending the agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the amended agenda?
So moved.
Motion from Diane, is there a second?
I'd like to have a little bit more discussion about that HERDA letter, so can we pull that out and approve the rest? Or do we want to discuss that now?
We can discuss it now if you want.
Okay.
Well, you have it on, oh, okay.
I included it in there.
Yeah.
That hit my email late Tuesday, I saw it Wednesday morning, and my first response was, I can't do that without board approval. And then I was like, wow, the deadline's Friday, there wasn't really a way to get that done. And it would be a HERDA project, it would not be a county project. They may or may not get the grant that's available, but there was a grant that was transportation and emergency preparedness type thing, so they thought it qualified. So I signed the blank letter of support and got it in the back so they could do it by Friday.
But the letter included that and added the emergency management, which is a county project, so to me it looked like it was going to be both wrapped into one. And I don't think we should ever do things on our own, go off on a tangent, none of us.
Plus, that's governed by a board.
That is governed by its own board. But,
I know
you
it is.
So that board should, so I just bring it up for one reason, is I did look up the grant. And the grant does require a minimum of a 10% match and up to a 20% match, local match. And HERDA has come to us every year asking for more money. So my concern is that if we send this letter, it gives the impression that we are supportive to the point of participating in that local match. And and I understand they gave it to you last minute, and I understand the feeling behind it. I don't want people to miss out on grants, but they shouldn't have done that to you. Why did they wait last minute?
I agree, and I've been in discussions about it, but I thought that was just like, yeah, this might be a possibility. I didn't realize it was that far down the line or anything even.
Right.
So I was a little bit taken back when I got that
Right.
at the last hour or two.
But I think
I
going
apologize.
forward, it's done.
Right. I don't want to dwell on it. I just
Going forward, none of us can do this. We sign a resolution that we'll work as a unit, as a board, and we can't go off on our own tangents. We can't step on other people's toes. We need to take it.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Like I said, my first reaction was, I'm sorry, I can't do that without board approval, and like, I don't want to
I
stand in the way of
understand
progress.
the intent behind it, and had we gotten more notice, I would, and got to ask more questions about what is this committing us to, I would probably have no issue with
Right,
it.
I
It's
understand.
just,
And the odds are you might probably not get
Yep.
it, but,
Yeah.
but we need to, But let's work as a
Yep,
unit,
no,
not
I
go off.
apologize for
Okay,
that.
so, okay,
That's
that's
all
all I
right. If there's
wanted
no
to
other
discuss.
And that's all
discussion.
of us, it includes all
No.
of us.
Can, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion
Did
carries.
we do a first, we did a first and a second
Yeah.
to approve the
Yeah,
consent?
we did.
Okay, okay.
All right, we have a couple of hearings now, so first I ask for a motion to enter into a public hearing for a redistricting request by Doc Tyndall Auto. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of entering a hearing at 10:05 a.m. indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Ryan? Everything's been published as required?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so I've provided, excuse me, each of you kind of, I provided this to the zoning commission as well. It's the black binder that I provided you. I'm just gonna kind of skim through this and then I'll go over my staff report. The first tab in there is my staff report, of which I will come back to. Also inclusive in there is the zoning commission recommendation, which was signed off by the vice chair of that board. The blue tab, the next tab in line, is the application for the district change by Marlon Tyndall of Doc Tyndall Auto. In that same tab, there is a kind of a business plan. Obviously, this business has been in functioning order for many years now. Yellow tab is just notification that was sent out, affidavit of mailing notice. Next would be the mailing labels of the people that are within 500 feet of the requested area. And then there's an affidavit showing that it was published in the paper. The last one there is the zoning distribution plan, project plan that was sent to all other agencies and offices for their comment if they had any, which I didn't receive any from anybody on this request. And then lastly is the public hearing notice that was posted in the annex and online.
Did you receive any comments on this one?
He said no.
I did not.
And thanks for sending this so we could study it. So really, this has always been commercial. You're just dragging in a piece, another little piece.
On the
We're just-
zoning map, it shows there as residential, and that's the green area. DOT had reached out and said that it needs to be changed to commercial in order to sell one RV that's located on site there. I think there's some different certifications or classifications that the DOT has changed in the recent years, where an automotive license is probably not the same anymore as an RV license. So I think this is a needed change. It probably should have been done long before now, but
It's a good cleanup then.
Yeah, cleaning it up.
So, this area that has lines in it, does that mean it's not included?
not included.
Okay. And then my question is, so how does this affect, like, if someone's selling a car on their front lawn saying for sale? I mean, how is this different?
I think that'd be a little bit, if it's one car, if somebody just has, it's different than a car sales
Yeah, it's not
law.
like they're required to have a dealer's license.
Right, they're just getting rid of it.
Right.
So are they selling more than one vehicle per year?
Yeah, I think it
Okay,
states.
it's a dealership, yeah, okay.
It states in their business plan, let me just make sure I'm here, approximately on average 10 to 15 vehicles are sold per year.
Okay, it's just that when they sold the campers, when it came to everybody's attention.
Yeah, the Iowa DOT reached out and said that they need to be commercially zoned in order to do that type of business.
So it was probably just an oversight, they didn't know, and now we're cleaning it up, now that, yeah, okay,
Okay.
good, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Anyone here wish to comment on this hearing? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Oh, are you gonna talk about North Branch?
That's never adjourned.
Next.
Motion to second to adjourn the hearing?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning the hearing indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries, we're adjourned at 10:09 a.m. And I have a motion to enter into a hearing for a minor subdivision to be known as North Branch Estates.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are entered into a public hearing at 10:10 a.m. Ryan?
Okay. I've provided each of you, along with that black binder there, a copy of the plat of subdivision for this one for your review. This is, the applicant is BK North Branch Land LLC. Property owner is Matt Bingston. Current zoning is agricultural. This is a 16-acre parcel, which he desires to split into 2 lots. This final plat is not approved until Board of Supervisors approval. Acceptable actions would be to approve the final plat request, continue to a future date to obtain more information. I believe the next available meeting date would be September 12th at 10. Or deny the requested plat, and the Board of Supervisors should state their findings or reasoning for denial. Current legal use, the current parcel contains no building structures. The most current use of the parcel has been pasture for livestock and also has been mowed for hay in recent years. Relevant history here, BK North Branch purchased a 40-acre parcel, which was the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter in section 24 of Madison Township in February of 23 for $503,000. In April of 23, BK North Branch LLC sold parcel C, which is the north 24 acres of the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter, to Sarah Grant for $480,000, and is now proposing to subdivide the remaining land into 2 residential lots for single-family dwelling construction. These 2 lots are currently listed on the open market for $175,000 for lot 1, which is 5.8 acres, and $249,900 for lot 2, which is a 10-acre parcel.
Oh my gosh.
Summary of key issues. Both lots 1 and 2 are located outside any FEMA flood zone area. The staff has determined the CSR2 of this area to be 69.55. This is just under our 70 rating called out in our comprehensive plan for prime productive farmland. The plat is not within 2 miles of any corporate boundaries, therefore no additional review was required by any incorporated city. Access from US Highway 169 has been approved by the Iowa Department of Transportation for a new driveway location to serve lots 1 and 2. As shown on the subdivision plat, a 45-foot ingress-egress easement will be utilized through lot 1 to access lot 2. This will be the only entrance of record for North Branch Estates.
I'm surprised the CSR is that high. It looks like it's all timber waste in the area.
Yeah, there's some.
It has some beautiful stuff.
Is the CSR for the 1 lot, or what is it? What
It's,
will it be if we
the
when we
CSR
subdivide?
is for the 16 acres.
Okay.
That's the parcel being subdivided.
But they can also take that total and combine it, can't they, so they can lower that CSR?
No, the
The
16
total
is-
acres?
the
So you're
16
only
that's
doing the
not-
CSR on the 16?
Which is the requested area for subdivision. It's not including the land north of that. So the Board of Supervisors are required to hold a public hearing, obviously, which what we're doing. I have provided notification to the landowners within 500 feet. I also, there's a list of agencies, Madison County Soil and Water District, Madison County Conservation, which I did receive a comment from them. I will get to that next. The Sheriff's Office, the Attorney, NRCS, Secondary Roads, which might confirm that this is along a state highway, so that it's not really under their jurisdiction. And then the Environmental Health also received notification. Madison County Conservation's findings, I will just read what was provided to me. Reviewing the property application with our resources and time-lapse imagery, our conclusion that it is that much of the property has been used for haying or grazing purposes. up into including 1930 imagery. Based on these historic maps, the eastern plus or minus 10 acres does not appear to have been tilled. The portion of the site has relatively young trees growing throughout, most likely being more disturbance-resistant trees such as Osage orange, honey locust, etc. The western plus or minus 5 acres of the site appears to have been row crop or similar practice dating back into the 1930s. Should be noted that the dominant soil type on this site is 61% Shelby-Lamoni complex, with the remaining 39% being Sharpsburg silty clay loam. The native vegetation for Shelby-Lamoni complex is till upland prairie, and Sharpsburg silty clay loam is Los upland prairie. If the eastern portion has not been tilled before, it has the capability of containing prairie species and even being a remnant. And this property lies in the North Branch North River watershed and lies less than a mile away from the North River. Along with this, the property has a stream that runs straight through it and directly feeds into the North River, allowing for more disturbance and land use changes of this area could negatively impact on the watershed. Along with this being in the North River watershed, the property also lies adjacent to a large tract of timber. Although this site is being disturbed by grazing and haying, it does provide habitat or acts as a travel corridor for a variety of animals. However, allowing for this land to be subdivided and potentially for the new structures to be built will have a negative impact on the habitat and organisms that use it. The lack of information of land use history and site evaluation is difficult to know the full extent of the negative impacts subdividing and allowing structures to be built on this site will have. With this information, best use should be taken into consideration for this application.
So I have a question for Steve. North and North River is there, and then the creek. So, or that stream, you're calling it a stream. You put two structures in there with great big roofs, big rooftops, paved driveways. That is going to really tax that stream, because you're going to create a great deal of runoff that it does not have now because it's all pasture. What's the environmental impact that that will have? I use myself as an example. Built a great big garage with paved driveway, and it just beats a snot out of the roadway, everything. So we ended up putting downspouts and tiled it all off to take it underground, because it comes off of that roof within seconds. It's 2 inches on the.
Well, I'm assuming,
And this is going to be a real impact, isn't it?
depends where they put the house, right?
Well, I don't know.
Anytime you create a disturbance, it's gonna impact, and it doesn't matter if it's residential or agricultural. But obviously there will be a disturbance, but there's also ways to mitigate that, so. But it doesn't matter if it's gonna be agricultural, row crop, residential. It's just something to take into consideration, especially when you're looking at protected waterways, so.
And pasture is, I mean, cattle, of course, it's a disturbance, but pasture is also a conservation. It controls, it actually is.
Can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yes.
It's just, unless you overgraze.
In your comment, it said, this is part of the watershed. Is that?
Correct.
Well, everything's part of a watershed.
So is that preserved at all, or is there any easements for that, or no?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's North River watershed, everything is a watershed, everybody lives
Everything
in a
flows into something.
watershed. Everything flows into something.
Okay.
But North River is not a protected like Badger.
It's not.
Okay,
Correct.
that's, I'm sorry,
But
that's
it's
what
a
I meant.
watershed, yeah.
Is it part of a designated watershed that's protected?
It's not in Badger Creek watershed.
Okay.
It's not Badger Creek? 'Cause I thought it ran back there. What did you name that creek? What did you say that name was, Ryan? Of that creek?
North Branch.
North
It
Branch?
feeds into Badger, but it's not part of the Badger Creek. It's not part of Badger Creek watershed.
Does it get-
They all feed into.
I've lived next door there for 3 years now, and it does get a lot of water if it rains. I mean, the cows were sinking down to their bellies. It's pretty swampy
Oh, okay,
already.
So all
does it meet the requirements?
It does. I think what I was just gonna state here before I'm done is the staff recommends that the board supervisors give weight to the concerns provided by the Madison County Conservation staff for the property's best use, and also acknowledge the fact that the CSR rating is very near, we called out 70 CSR. Staff has given consideration to the goals of the comprehensive plan, the requirements of both Madison County zoning ordinance and the Madison County subdivision regulations, and found that the plat meet all of those requirements.
So your staff is recommending we approve this?
It says it meets the requirements.
Yeah, it meets the requirements. I'm not
They want us to
saying.
take in consideration the environmental impact.
Okay. Is there anyone here that wishes to comment on this project? If so, come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. You have up to 10 minutes.
My name is Nancy Kuko, and I live at 1346 Highway 169, and I'm just, well, it'll be my north boundary there, south boundary, their fence line runs through there. And I have a question because, I'm sorry, Ryan, you said that it was going to be zone residential, and I have 2 horses and 2 goats, so would that affect my?
It's not
zoning?
going to be zoned residential.
Okay.
It would be used for residential, like single-family dwelling construction.
Okay.
The zoning district would not change.
I mean, just from the time I lived there, just for some information, there is a waterfall back there on that, the property that's to the big property, the 10 acres. And it's like there's some limestone and water runs down there. And it can get pretty deep if there's a lot of rain back there. And it kind of runs behind my property, but not on my property. And there is, since I've been there, there's been a lot of, my first year, there was a lot of water there. And the fencing between our 2 properties, the posts just all washed out. And then I moved my fence lines because I had a blind horse and I didn't want him to fall over the cliff. And so I moved my fence line, and it's just, there's like no dirt there. I mean, it's just,
So you're telling us it gets really wet?
it gets
back there?
really wet there. And, I mean, Keith Williamson, he had his cows there for the 3 years that I was there. And I love watching the cows, but I would watch them go down there, especially when they had babies, and they would just sink down so far, and it's real swampy, and there's a lot of snakes there. I mean, so I know it's like a river shit. So that would be my concern is if they, like you said, if you build a house and it drains, it already drains a lot because the property that's south of me, they're just a tad higher than me, and their water drains into mine, in the back of my property, towards that creek. It's all swamp. I don't let my horses go back there. I just call it the deer pasture. And then I drain into the other property because I'm a little higher than them. So I'm just worried if somebody put something in there. I know when they put the property, the scenic view acres up there, they spent like a year putting in giant tiles and stuff like that for drainage, and I didn't know if anything like that would be required, or if maybe the DNR person knows anything about that, because I've only lived there 3 years and it's just my observation, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ryan, is there any, we don't have any ordinances that can govern how they build their property or anything like that, correct?
Other than the setbacks from property lines, I don't.
There are no
You
ordinances.
subdivide it and list them, that's a buyer beware, really, is it not?
But you'd think insurance companies would say, you know, it would behoove you to tile around your house so you never have a wet basement. I mean, it's not that,
That's standard procedure.
you would think, it's not though, because it's a cost that builders don't want.
Okay, is there anything else for the public hearing? We have an action item on this later on in the agenda, so if not, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We've reached the public comment section of our meeting. Anyone from the public wish to comment at this time? If so, raise your hand, I'll call you to the podium. Kevin, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Kevin Charter, 1411 Warren Avenue. Just a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. I know we, I think here a while back, did a speed monitoring mobile unit out on Cumming Road. I was just kind of curious if we ever get any statistics back on that, or, because I know I could use it out on Warren Avenue, because they drive that thing like a maniac. But I was just kind of curious on that, just for feedback on that. And then second item was, I know they've, a letter was sent out to the sheriff's department in each of the Iowa 99 counties from Senator Chuck Grassley. And I was just kind of curious if we could get feedback on kind of what the thoughts were in regards to that letter that was sent out to our sheriff's department here in Madison County, as far as what kind of impact that may have on our department here, and also what kind of, have we had, you know, training in some of those areas? Because some of what they're relating to is human trafficking, and, you know, just in regards to the fact that we don't have any border control from the federal. So what they're doing is they're reaching out into the states, and Grassley elected to reach out with letters to each of our sheriff's departments. So I was just kind of bringing it up just to see if there's any concern. Do we have the financial support that we need to help with that? Do we have the proper staffing? I don't know how big of impact that has in our county, but I know we're not that far from the metro, and we're also got, as he brought up, the intersection of 3580 corridors that run through here. So
Kevin, I think we're up to our 3 minutes. It sounds like this would be a conversation best served if you and the sheriff could have a one-on-one conversation.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Kevin, we have had concerns about human trafficking, and we did offer countywide classes on what to look for and how to spot it. We have done that, if that helps you.
Okay, that's fine. I just
Yeah, we have.
Thank you. Any other public comment this morning? Yes.
Jeff Newman, 1179 220th Street, Winterset. I just noticed on today under new business item number 2, physical security audit by CISA and DHS. And I'm not exactly sure what that encompasses, but I would ask this board if you would ask a couple questions when that presentation is given. I'd like to know where this comes from, what instigated this, and secondly, obviously, the scope. And that's all I have to ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this morning? Any public comment on the phone? Okay, if not, we'll move on to our resolutions. First resolution is approving hiring Busey as a full-time deputy sheriff effective September 1. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Diane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is supervisor resolution to appoint Jerry Parkin to the compensation board for regular terms serving from August of 23 to June of 27. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is a supervisor resolution approving C. Curtis to the Civil Service Commission effective August 23 through December of 28. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion?
Yes, Steve, will he still move snakes if you call him?
I don't think that's.
You
It's
got
his
the wrong
brother.
birds.
It's the other one.
It's not the
Well,
right.
that's his first name.
So it's so it's the other twin. that-
It's not Barber.
Oh,
You're
I
thinking of
got
Curtis
it. I'm
Barber.
thinking of Curtis Barber. I can mix them
Different
up.
person.
And
Thanks.
even if it
Ignore
was, I
me.
think he could serve in the Civil Service Commission and still pay
I
his
don't think
salary.
that's required. If you make that required, you might not get applicants. Sorry,
There's
I
no
mixed
further
that up.
discussion. Proceed to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a supervisor resolution approving the contract with Rural Pay Payment Processing for the geo-permitting software. Talked about this in our discussion, or
Right.
review session. Is there a motion to approve?
So, oh, she can
Motion-
do it.
I heard Diane first. Motion by
That's fine.
Diane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? Look forward to getting that program implemented. If there's no other discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have two secondary roads resolutions approving temporary road closures, one on Bevington Park Road and one on Wild Rose Avenue. Can I have a motion to approve both of those?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have two more resolutions from secondary roads to approve hiring of R. Martin and B. Tire. One is a full-time truck driver, one is a full-time equipment operator on the bridge crew. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is a zoning resolution approving redistricting of a property owned by Doc Tyndall Auto, Marlon Tyndall, from residential to commercial. Is there a motion to approve?
Do we need to do roll call on this?
Can.
We can do roll call.
I don't
I'll make a
know.
motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We've been asked for a roll call vote on this.
Clifton,
Aye.
Fitch,
Aye.
Stanza.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have a zoning resolution approving the North Branch Estates subdivision. Do I have a motion to approve?
We need to do roll call on this.
Kim.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? We've discussed it quite a bit. Sounds like it's a little bit less than ideal development, although it does meet the requirements. Any other discussion?
Is there, in your opinion, Ryan, is there any place, is there a good spots on this land where people could build? Or is it all pretty wet?
I think, just by aerial view, I haven't been to this location. I think both of those are gonna have to hug the south property line, in order to, because I think that the creek in there runs pretty much through the center of both of those lots, maybe if not a little bit to the north. But I don't see how it would be feasible to build on the north side of those lots. It would have to be on the south side.
Any other discussion? If not, let's proceed to a roll call vote.
Clifton,
Aye.
Fitch,
Nay.
Stanza.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. We have applications. Let's do the liquor license first. Michelle, help me with the liquor license list for.
Certainly, that would be the temporary liquor license of Hatcha Machete. The event date is September 3rd of 2023.
Very good. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a fireworks permit for Jay Kaczynski at 1537 Heritage Avenue, Earlham for September 16th to September 23rd is a rain date. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're down to board member reports.
Go ahead.
So we had an MPO meeting, discussed a bunch of stuff. As you know, Madison County does not, we are not a voting member on that committee. We had our comprehensive plan meeting last night, which was very robust. We actually finished early, which was unusual for us. But they gave us some updated maps, which I forwarded to folks. We're gonna do some more tweaking on those. Also, the draft copy of chapter 13, I asked for a soft copy for them, so I can send that to you. We just got a hard copy. And we are gonna probably shoot for October for our next meeting. We are about 64% done for the comprehensive plan. We're gonna be setting up interviews with various stakeholders going forward. We have our initial list. Now we're just kind of getting contact information. So what I'm gonna do too is, if you guys can help with that, I'll send you that list. Because right now, not everyone has phone numbers or emails, so I'm trying to gather it.
So you're looking to contact people and trying to find the best way to do it?
Right,
I'll
so like
do
for
that
instance.
tomorrow morning.
Right, so for instance, for our schools, Jim Smith is actually helping me tailor that. I'm delegating. So we're gonna talk up to all the superintendents. They're gonna gather 2 students. Our goal is 2 students per school, 1 urban child, 1 rural child, and it's high schoolers is what we're focusing on. Then we're also gonna look to FFA and 4-H, and then we're also reaching out to see if we can find students that are either homeschooled or private schools to kind of get their perspective. So that's the example of one of the groups that are gonna get together. The idea is to have Zoom meetings with these folks to kind of get some feedback. So that's where we're at with that. Those are probably the most active things. I had some relative conversations with members of the public, and let's see, lots of conversations with the DNR this week, so that's pretty much and I'll get to that later on, so that's pretty much.
Do you still attend Matura and Iowa Workforce?
Yeah, our next Iowa Workforce right now is what they are working on is a one-stop shop. Apparently there was some consternation about how things are being handled, especially since the offset, that whole western part of the state is now moved to the state to govern. So we're working on contracts for that right now. We've had multiple calls on that, and now we are, the one-stop shop, we put it out to bid. The only 2 people came back. One was the Children and Families in Iowa, and the other one was Iowa Workforce Development, someone from there. And there were some concerns about possible conflict of interest there. So right now, we're discussing as a board on how to move forward on that. There's not been a lot of movement yet. So what they've been doing is the executive director has been reaching out to us individually and asking what our opinions are. But the only other option is that we don't want to do Children and Families of Iowa because of issues they've had with misspending money. But we're not exactly comfortable with the Iowa Workforce staff being our one-stop shop. So we either we go back to bid, or we do we go with Iowa Workforce and just do a 1-year contract and see how it works out, and if there's issues, that way we can change it. And then Matura, we have a meeting next week, so that's the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Dan?
I haven't had too much. I had historic preservation, and there is an issue being brought up that people are asking, mostly in St. Charles, because it sits right off the interstate, to put advertising on by the covered bridge. Advertising. They want to put their signs up advertising their stores and their wares.
At that little city, I know.
It's actually, the
park?
city owns it,
Right.
so, but we discussed this at historic preservation. We're very opposed to putting all kinds of advertisement by the bridges, but it is city-owned, that one.
The bridge itself is not.
This bridge is not, but the surrounding land is. So that's a concern.
Has the chamber weighed in on that?
No, I don't know.
They'd have a whole lot of sway on it either.
No.
I would just ask that whoever's behind that, is that gift shop still there to the
No,
east?
hasn't been there for a long
Is there a
time.
little something there anymore, or is that
Well,
gone? Just an abandoned
it's not
shed?
abandoned, it's just a place. We'll leave it at that.
All right, but if it was more on that side of it, it's like, well, I'm in favor of it, but I don't know if we have control over it.
I'm not in favor of it. Also, I will have a landfill meeting tomorrow on, we're gonna do our punch list and go through our bill.
Good.
And then, the landfill doesn't approve of this, but we want to have just a slight open house to sit, all the cities are involved, so their papers can be there, because they're all in on this, too, just that we have a new facility. We are working on, we do have a building that you can bring your toxic waste to, but we lost the key, and we never, I said, well, replace the lock, but we haven't done that. So we need to replace the lock, so we can take that toxic stuff out
That'd be
there. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. I had several meetings in the last 2 weeks. Had a DCAT meeting, which that's, it's like child welfare. And our current DCAT group is Madison, Warren, and Marion counties, which is quite small. And the DHS, or Human Services, whatever they call themselves now, is looking at how the DCAT is structured going forward. And I would expect when that is done, there will be some changes in that, or how it's structured, but who knows? So stay tuned on that. I kind of like it the way it is now, because it's small enough you actually know what's going on. And, you know, when you approve a project or something, you say, oh, I know what to go along with, or I know what that program is in deal. And if the state takes it over, it makes it great, big and huge, that'll be lost. But anyway, stay tuned on that. I went to the Badger Creek Watershed Tour. I've been on that before. Usually we go to a lot of different sites. This time we spent all our time at one site, and it was a structure that had an old clay tile that really wasn't part of the project.
Do you remember what number?
I have no idea. But then there was a tile put in the early 70s, and then when they went into to upgrade that, which was probably sometime in the 90s, they didn't do a very good job of terminating the other one, and they went to do some cleanup on it, and found out that sometimes it was running the old tile, sometimes it was running the new tile, and it was kind of a mess. So
Was that a big waterway?
the big waterway had a couple little dams in it.
I know what it is.
It would be, get my directions, they're pretty much due east of Badger.
And it's a big, long, big waterway.
It's really long, yeah.
It puts about four feet of water through it.
Oh, sure, probably does, so.
It's always been.
Anyway, they're digging into that to see what it will cost to basically take out the old crappy tile and put one in there that everything actually ties into, because sometimes there are field ties going in the old one and not the new one, and it was interesting. We spent an hour and a half probably at one site, listening to lots of different opinions, if you can imagine.
Did they have any, because I know in the past for watershed stuff, they said that the biggest issue is not necessarily having the money to get it done, but getting it approved to be done because the engineers from the state are busy.
Well,
No, this is a state engineer project. It's just a matter of the cost of it. And as long as it is, and as big a tile as it is, it could be rather.
well, they have $500,000. They're sitting on $450,000.
They could-
I think.
But it would be
Probably
pretty expensive.
that.
Probably.
It'll be thousands of dollars, whether, I don't think it would get to 6 figures, but.
Well, depends what size tile we have to
Yeah.
use and how much. I did forget to tell you, I did attend Middle River Watershed. And, after the meeting, they don't have a secretary, and so they asked if, Michelle could be it, and I asked you, we said no. Now they want me to do it, I said no. So they are going to use a soil and water secretary, which I think
Brilliant.
makes
That
perfect
makes
sense.
sense.
To use a
Do they
soil-
have to like subcontract with them to do
No,
that or no?
I mean, they work in there.
That's kind of the job.
Okay, that's weird. All right.
That's kind of a little contentious, but I think they'll get over it.
I had a couple other things to report on. After our last board meeting, there was talk of the chamber maybe leading the efforts for a fundraising type project right before Bridge Festival. So we called the covered bridge preservation meeting, and it was kind of short notice, and Mike had some family issues come up. Anyway, we didn't have a quorum at that meeting, but kind of the consensus at that meeting was that we really didn't want to put together something on short notice and have it be not be successful. Plus the chamber with covered bridge festival coming up the weekend after really didn't have a lot of resources to allocate to that. We are having a covered bridge festival meeting next Monday and hope to have better attendance and kind of move forward with some of that ideas. And yesterday I was asked to go to a golf outing, which wasn't really all that pleasant on a 100-some-degree day.
That wasn't the Seacog one.
No, this is up at Lake Panorama, but on the way,
Oh, goodness.
Tom Leonard was asked by Kenora Fiber, they are putting in a bid for one of the invitation to qualify projects in Madison County. Just to kind of mostly just a meet and greet, say, hey, this is what we're looking to do, and hope we're successful, and whatever. The most interesting thing I take away from that is the Madison County project that they're wanting to bid on. Their projected cost is about $7 million to service 240 homes.
That's all, 7 million for 240,
Yeah.
and that's fiber?
That's fiber. You know, and then that would go into the state, and they would award the contract. I think there's multiple people that are putting in proposals on that.
I mean, that sounds like a lot, but that sounds about right.
So where are they doing it, like, where they have to
It's-
blow up everything, like Piru, I mean?
No, I assume it's Panora, so they're gonna go close to where their network is. And we've got 3 municipals that are looking at it. You got Casey, Panora, and Omnitel, which is nice that those 3 are getting closer, because the closer they get, the more economical it is for them to do things. And then the state contracts will typically be 60 to 80% of that contract. But I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. It takes a lot of monthly internet bills to cover that.
Yeah, it's about, I don't know what current dollars were, but back when I was in the industry, it was about $100,000 a mile, just to lay fiber.
I'm sure the land.
And now it's probably a lot more expensive than that, but that's assuming you're just digging or doing aerial. If you're blasting, that's a lot.
Oh, sure.
So,
And you go around here, you have to.
This would be northern, so
Yeah.
probably not
Yeah.
quite as bad, but, I thought that was interesting, and they also thought that project rate second, fourth, and I believe 24th out of 100 projects or something, they were pretty confident that Madison County would get awarded on all 3 of those.
Really?
That's encouraging, but I was taken back by that number, that's huge. Interesting.
So
All right.
The Covered Bridge fundraiser, I just talked to Amara, they were looking at possibly spring date, maybe May 18th.
That's way better. Well, that might be really.
So it's the weekend before Memorial Weekend, which is the John Wayne birthplace celebration. And then it's after Mother's Day. So we would have the wine walk, Mother's Day weekend, and then that, and then and I think that
We'll
would
talk
actually-
about that Monday, that time of year is probably much better than the weekend.
Right.
Weekend before Bridge Festival it's kind of quaint and everything, but
Yeah.
there's just too much to pull.
And this would also give us more opportunities to seek donations. So I have had a few more companies commit to donate, so bridge companies.
Okay.
What's the, they're gonna commit, what, is there any strings attached?
No, it would just be, a donation.
They won't
to a
put their
good cause.
signs up on our bridges?
No.
That they gave money?
No. But no, I just wanted to share that.
May I ask Sheriff Barnes, how do you pronounce your new hire?
Goose.
Goose?
Yeah.
Goose.
I did massacre that. All right, old business, jail committee and road pay contract, I think we've already discussed that.
Yep.
New business, departmental social media concerns. Jen, what do you have going on?
So we are revisiting the departmental social media guidelines based on some issues they are having in another county. And we are learning how important it is to have a really solid,
Foundation?
sorry, a really solid policy on that. So we're getting together and asking the departments that have social media currently to come together and work towards an acceptable policy that,
Allows them to do what they want to do
Right.
while still being appropriate.
right, and making sure that everybody knows the implications of it and all the things.
So in another county, they've maybe done something deemed inappropriate, and you just don't know?
I don't believe it's,
Issues that the other counties have.
I can't speak about it really so much, it's just concerns about stalking and different things that is occurring. Yeah, so that is why,
That's unfortunate, because it can be a really helpful tool.
It-
I like what Secondary Roads is doing with.
Oh, yeah.
that.
right, secondary roads,
Great.
and then conservation has a great site, the auditor gets a lot of response, for like voting questions, she gets a lot of, so a lot of it, the information is great. We just need to make sure that everyone's on the same page, we're all following the same policy, and going forward, when you sign up, how it should be. And so Erin Hardesty, a county attorney, is working on it as well, so we're
I
getting that.
think I know,
not, I know what county it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
So then-
that sounds like positive.
Yes, yes, and I
So
wanted to.
what's the
make
next
you guys-
step? You'll, the departments will
We'll
meet.
get together with the
that
department
something?
heads, make sure that everything, you know, just make sure that we're all on the same page, that we're all following the same set of guidelines, and that we have fail-safes in case someone gets hit by a truck, and we need to know information, just all these different things that we don't really have accounted for right now.
Are you talking about our webpage, like our county webpage, or our like
Your
Facebook?
social media, so your actual sheriff's page on, like, say, Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, you guys, our county really does a great job at posting information and being informational and resourceful. So it has nothing, we're not doing this because of anything that's happened in our county, but something that arose in another county. And just like the pandemic, we use this as an ugly thing, as an opportunity to make sure that we are in a good spot. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, we'll move into the next one.
A lot of the work I do is driven by elections and security and homeland security and all these things. One of the resources we have, much like we currently, we work with the state and CISA and DHS to test our network from different attacks. Well, a part of that is physical security of the courthouse.
So you're talking not necessarily the physical security of the telco closet, but the physical security of the building itself?
The building, the election equipment in the building, different, you know, I don't know because I've never actually had DHS come in and give me a security report. It has no, they could give us a list of 10 things. It has absolutely no bite. They are just pointing out our weaknesses, and it is up to us how we respond to that and how we.
And DHS offers this.
Yes, anything that the state and DHS offers, because they get grants to do this work for us.
So they're going to come in and say, you know, this is this window being open is a security
Right,
issue.
some guy might call in and grab an election.
And they won't ding you, they'll just say, don't do this.
Right, they'll give us like best practices, and
Okay.
they'll show us all of our opportunities to grow in physical security.
And it's free?
It is free, it's paid for by grants through the state, through just different monies that come in to help with the election. And that is why, for sure, it's the courthouse. I don't know if I could have that opened up to like the annex or the other facilities.
This is something, so you think this is a good idea, or you would?
Right, and so one of the things is people get really upset when they hear that other government agencies wanna come in and like audit us in a way. And so they like to have the buy-off from the board just to make sure that everyone involved knows this has no teeth, nobody's gonna come and write us tickets. It is simply,
Experts helping you be safer.
right, and giving us suggestions as to how to keep our election equipment safer, different things of that nature.
Okay, so, have they come?
No.
She's just
So,
asking.
yeah.
Is there any reason why we can't do that for the sheriff? Because ultimately, he's the authority for physical security, not the federal government.
Well, okay, so it's not quite that important. It's like, okay, whereas it's more election based.
This is state government, not fed, is it?
Department of Homeland Security is involved because again, elections. So it's driving that and our security for that. So we could have them do that, but that would be, I'd have to talk to them and see how we could work into that, but.
It might even be helpful if Jason was involved with.
Right, Jason and I would say Chip. I would also like Chip involved because he really takes care of a lot of the physical security of that building, and then Dio as well.
So if you partner, I'm okay with your partner as long as we're with it.
So I'm a little uncomfortable with it. And the reason why I'm uncomfortable with it is because this same organization has been proven to collude with big tech and censor Americans online. And I don't understand why we would invite this same entity that has gotten their hands slapped multiple times for interfering with First Amendment issues. So, I am perfectly comfortable having our sheriff being the authority for physical security. I'm perfectly okay with CISA coming in and giving us advice on how to be more secure from a data security technology issue. Where I am uncomfortable is where they are, first of all, they didn't contact him, which is a concern.
Because he doesn't work for the elections.
But
Yeah,
she didn't
he
ask
is
that,
the
she's
final-
asking physical security.
He is the
not-
he is the top authority at the local government level for physical security in issues. And an issue when the federal government comes in, bypasses our elected official who's in charge of physical security.
Not elections.
I understand. He is in charge of physical security of county buildings,
What is about
which
election?
includes wherever we store our electoral equipment. I'm not comfortable having an organization that has trouble staying in their lane, coming into our buildings. I don't like that.
Jason, do you have any thoughts on this?
Podium.
Mike, mic up.
Sorry to put you on the spot. And maybe you need more
Because,
information.
just so you know, DHS also is a part of testing our network. So they are involved in the cloud side of it as well, so.
So they contact you first to come in and check our buildings?
Right, because Jason doesn't do IT or the elections.
There
So
shouldn't be
he-
cloud anything in the elections.
No.
We should not be on the internet with elections, so that
Right,
should
but,
be a
right,
different subject.
right. However, they do email, like they do penetration testing, they test our network.
That's fine,
Right. And they are a part of the elections.
but not physical security. They shouldn't be. That's not their
Yeah,
authority.
they
That's
do-
not their authority.
Jason, you wanna weigh in on this, please?
Yeah.
Jason, please.
Yeah, that is our job, physical security in buildings.
So let's
There's no
not,
reason we can't work with other people. Do I know it all? No. Do I learn every day? Yes. There are experts out there that know more about IT than me, absolutely. But yeah, we need to be involved.
so let's partner. Don't let them be coming
Jason,
alone, but if Jason and Dio and we're there.
And Chip.
And Chip.
Can I ask the two of you and Dio, and maybe Chip, discuss this amongst yourselves and then come back to us with a recommendation of the group?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next item is basically to confirm you as continue to serve as Madison County representative on the mental health board.
Did you put this on here?
I did not. It was submitted to Shelley and then to Michelle.
And I followed the protocol that we used when we put Diane on the rivers. So that's what
Are you willing to serve?
Yeah.
Gotta put you on the spot.
Go for it.
No, technically, I already been appointed in January, but
Correct.
with the change in the format.
and they're just
needs to
shoring
be
it up and,
kind
yes.
of documented.
And we have about 2 minutes.
Yes, all
There
right,
you go.
okay. So we'll just go ahead and get that paperwork completed and submitted.
Mhm.
All right, DNR requirements and septics.
So this came up, and Brooke, jump in if I'm getting off center here. So this came up because I had two members of the public call me. So I've learned more about septic systems than I care to know last week. But basically, in 2009, DNR changed the requirements for certain septic systems, and we don't have to sample. We just need maintenance agreements. Now, this is not within the authority of the board, but I'm bringing it to your attention because what DNR told me was a red flag for me is there's Chapter 69 which governs these. So I know the Board of Health wants to continue to sample for these particular systems even though it's not required by the DNR. The problem is that if you do any part of Chapter 69, you are required to do all of Chapter 69, which means going out multiple times, testing all the time, and we neither have the personnel for that, nor do it's gonna be prohibitively expensive for the homeowners to do that. So my concern was if we continue to do what we're doing right now, we are putting the county in a liability standpoint. Because we are not, if we're gonna do one part, we have to do all the parts. And we do not have the staffing or the money to do that, so.
I have a suggestion. And Brooke and I have talked to this at length, and we'd probably have to reach out to the DNR. I'm not sure I think it's fair you're doing sand filters and cocos. I think What about laterals? We know there are lateral systems in there that are not functioning. So what if we work with the DNR, we do 20% or whatever we'll deem, we do random spot checks, we go out every year and she checks maybe 20 of them. If they're out of compliance, they have X amount of days to get in compliance. If they're in compliance, good for them. And every year it's a random spot check, we all fall under it, not just the hand-picked ones.
You
Because
check
that's not,
20% of the lateral systems?
I don't know.
That
It's
seems like
just
a lot.
No, it's just gonna have to be a number. We have to sit
And we
down
can
and talk.
certainly do that. So I talked to Tina about this too, is what we can do is, for the ones that require a maintenance agreement, now that we have this wonderful system, homeowners can upload their maintenance agreement, and should they forget to do that, then we follow up with them. And so that will save them money for sampling, that will reduce effort on staff, I think. And,
I don't
because
think
what
the
I'm having an
$50 is
issue with is that, Diane, if we're not required to
Right.
do it, and even if we put in the occasional thing, we're still doing only part of chapter 69. If we're doing things that's outside of chapter 69, or we're doing part of that for whatever reason, we are now have to do everything for every single one, when we're not required to. So in order to do that, we're gonna have to increase our staff.
Well, I think that, we can discuss, go ahead.
What I was going to say is that after you spoke with Corey Frank, I spoke with him again, and what he suggested is maybe having an educational kind of format where he comes and he speaks with the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Health, and so that we can kind of get a really good grasp on requirements that the county has, just some general education for everyone, and I think it's a really good idea before we make any big.
Oh, no, we can't make a decision.
Well, no,
here.
I know you can't, but in general, just to kind of get the ball rolling.
I think that's a good idea. I mean,
But this is very fixable.
Oh, yeah.
See,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that maintenance agreement, I don't know, that's with, when you put it in, help me understand this. If I put in a maintenance agreement with Joe Schmo Company,
Yep.
then I'm signing the maintenance agreement with him?
Yes, and so the liability is with you and with him, and they submit the results of that maintenance agreement to the county.
Right. So what happens where the liability comes in is when we start requiring things over and above.
And we have.
And Iowa code allows us to be more strict, but what it doesn't allow us is to pick and choose.
And we are,
And we are.
And I don't like, I
So-
think you can be stricter or equal to, but you can't be lesser than, and we are pretty strict. And I think it isn't fair, because we are picking and choosing, and we know there are, because people believe, this is from putting my old job hat on, well, I'm grandfathered in, so I can do whatever I want. No, nobody ever said you could dump stuff in the river, but
So-
there are some of those.
So, yeah, so I think there's extreme value in having an education, because, you know, a lot of things we have in place, they've been in place forever, we haven't looked at it in a long time, we haven't made any changes. And so I think with guidance from Brooke, can coordinate that.
Yep.
And Corey from the DNR did say he'd be willing to have an education, so we can get ourselves in line, so the county isn't liable down the road. We have education for the boards, and also homeowners are not overly.
And
It's
those-
kind of a fine line. I had a surface discharge system for 23 years. So it's been under service, I have 3 different people that have had service contracts on it. And there've been at least twice that I can think of where they've done it and said, we need to do a major whatever on it. You know, and it's no fun spending the money, but thank goodness they caught it, you know?
Right, and that's under the maintenance agreement and what DNR emphasized to me, what Corey did, was that the number 4 permit is between the homeowner and the DNR, not the county. So why is the county kind of stepping in it? So I think the next step should be to have some
Education, I think that would be great.
So would you,
Get that set up?
get that set up, pass on the concerns of the board, that we want to move forward on this, so.
I'd be curious with your board's thoughts on it as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Brooke.
All right, very good, thank you. Courthouse exterior project, Diane, do you have anything you want to report on there? I think we're actually moving along nicely.
It's going really quickly. There are some things I don't like, and we walked around, and they are putting them on punch lists, and some things I think maybe It's moving along much quicker, it's looking better. I think this new superintendent keeps things, and keeps people very accountable.
Did you look at that, the grout color?
You know what,
cheek
I
walls?
did. I looked on the cheek walls. It
It's kinda
matches
off.
this, but it matches the stone and it matches the old. It's going to fade, the south side will fade, it'll be fine. The north wall is the one I made them take all that grout out, because I thought it looked like two.
Did you see the cheek walls on the east side? They looked like they didn't even smooth it out, like they clumped it out.
I think what they tried to do is use everything they could back into it, and I don't like, it's not real even, but I thought they tried to preserve everything they could. I don't.
Well, and I commend them for that, but they should make it look nice.
Well,
We have a courthouse meeting next Tuesday with
yeah,
people that are involved.
it's
with it.
coming along, and
Okay.
it's going.
Comp plan, I think you had a productive meeting.
We had a productive meeting yesterday, lots of conversations, and they provided, maps to look over, gave a lot of feedback. The difficulty we run into is we kind of keep veering off into ordinance territory, and we have to keep going back to comp plan territory. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna get the list of potential outside folks, stakeholders within the county to communicate with, so hopefully you guys have emails and phone numbers you can update that with. So our next meeting will be sometime in October. I have to do a doodle poll to see which dates work best for people, but it's gonna probably be mid-October.
Look forward to looking at the information you sent out last night.
Yeah.
Ordinance review, anything on that?
Nothing, I mean, we talk a lot about ordinances, but
All right.
nothing yet.
Sounds good.
We've got another meeting.
I know, if there's nothing else, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So
So moved.
Motion by Diane, second by Heather.
Me too. And tell your son hi for me, I really do enjoy it.
We are adjourned.